Sorry about that.
No, that's fine.
And we're live. Darkwah Kyei-Darkwah. Thank you for being guest number 1 on Daydreaming, on the pilot.
Thank you for having me.
So, to everyone at home, we are in the presence of greatness. We might not realize it just yet, but we will shortly. So,
You're very kind.
I should probably do some explaining as to what this thing is.
Mm-hmm.
This is the pilot, and this was inspired by the fact that I just thought, God, I'm never more online and happier than when I'm having the types of conversations, inspired kind of like by the conversations we've had, just talking to
Mm-hmm.
fascinating people about fascinating stuff. So, in that spirit, just tell everyone what you do.
Okay. Well, hello everybody. My name is Darkwah Kyei-Darkwah. I am a non-binary, multidisciplinary artist, public speaker, and content creator. And all of my work is kind of focused on educating, informing, and enlightening many others on the Black non-binary experience, Black LGBTQ experience, and all of the content that I create kind of shines a light on different issues that we face as like non-binary people face or feel moving through the world, and also in the recent years with the BLM movement just really taking center stage a bit more. A lot of my work also is a commentary on the Black experience.
Yeah, and like on top, you also do everything. So this is something every time
Yes.
we have a conversation, I'm like, not that as well. Like,
Yeah, so I also manage a few acts, some talent, and I work on some pretty amazing brand collaborations as well while doing makeup. So I guess it's all fun.
so we did some drag a few weeks ago. Hey,
Oh, that wasn't drag. That was just soft face. We just did a
oh
cute
shit.
little cute glam. That was just cute glam.
How was I as a drag queen or as a
Uh
glam?
you were more like a glam rocker, and I think you did well.
Yeah, I had the whole like lipstick smudge. We did the.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah. We gave you that whole fantasy. I loved it.
Tell me something. How's it
Hmm.
been? How's it been doing all the stuff you've been doing while like the whole world's blowing up?
Okay, let's start first with. Okay. Um, so last year, let's start with beginning of lockdown. Last year, as lockdown started, and then is it last year now? I don't know. It feels like an eternity that we've been in lockdown. Um, but yeah, when the BLM protests and stuff were really, really, really like picking up and taking like center stage with the news, um, I got very anxious and very quiet on social media for a little bit, actually close to a month, because I didn't know what I wanted to put out into the world because I was like, well, yeah, a thirst trap and a cute fashion picture is all well and good, but what is that contributing to the world? Like, what am I giving to the world, right? And so I started doing my makeup and having conversations with myself on camera for an Instagram TV series called Darkwah Does, um, which was short lived, but I think all of the episodes are gems. Um, and it might be coming back for a reboot. You never know. But yeah, so ultimately, what I decided to do was rather than just putting out still image and things that don't show any feeling, I kind of like moved through the world um, a little bit carelessly before. It was like like carefree, but in like a naive and somewhat callous manner sometimes. And I was like, I don't want to do that. You know, these are all of the things that we're talking about. The people are going to protests and stuff. This is my lived experience as well, and I can't act like it's not happening. So I have to embrace that part of me and that part of my voice. I started doing these makeup videos and talking about issues that are going on in the world while also teaching people how to do face, while also learning how to do face myself properly. Because I was good at makeup. Now I'm very good at makeup, but I was good at makeup then. Um, And yeah, so I think I, it's been interesting because I think creating and doing all of this work in lockdown has allowed me to really be able to listen to myself. Um, and in being able to listen to myself, I feel like I'm putting out better stuff. But ultimately, it's been actually first very unsettling because when you start to hear your own like voice, like your inner voice, um, it's like, oh my God, who the hell is this? Like, what are you talking about? Why do I want to do this? Why am I acting like this? Why do I feel like this about this? And then you start like picking apart everything. And then when you start picking it apart and then putting it back together and understanding why it is you function in certain ways, everything becomes easy. So it's now very easy and very fun. But initially it was really, really hard because I made the leap in I made the leap to be honest with myself and with everyone else um, in every single way on every platform.
Yeah, because you're the most yourself person I know. Like, I think you're the
Yeah.
most authentic. I do, like, I'm trying to get to 10% of of I'm trying to be 10% as Jamie as Darkwah is Darkwah.
Okay.
And the thing about having a relatively public platform as you do, and talking about the issues that you talk about, is that there's no hiding place massively.
Yeah. Yeah.
Is that
There.
is that is that a fun thing? Because it's like, oh shit, I've got to be myself because it's no fun being someone else in front of loads of people, or is there a whole bunch of shit that comes along with it?
Um. When you make the move to be unapologetically yourself. Oh my God, I'm so sorry. How terrible! That just hit
Hey,
me. That was a sneak attack.
hey, listen, I think your mic is ruffling against my
Oh my
shoulder.
God, I'm so sorry.
You're all good.
Okay. Um. I'm gonna sit that there again where it was before. We're fine now.
I think we're good. I'll give you an
Okay,
arm
good.
wiggle if not.
Yeah. Okay, fab. Um. So sorry. What was the question? The microphone distracted me.
Yeah, I think the microphone's still a bit ruffly.
Okay. I'm just gonna hold it. I'm just gonna hold it here.
Oh, you're a mensch.
Yeah.
Um,
Um. Go on.
no, I was just because I see your Instagram and I'm new to Instagram. I'm a
Mm-hmm.
6 month. I got in
Yeah,
December.
you're not big on using the social medias.
No, not at all. And I find that it's possible to be different degrees of yourself. And
Oh
it's
yeah, yeah,
funny.
yeah, yeah.
Have you had the experience of? Because I've never had it. I don't know what people's like brands are on Instagram, but I've seen friends like recently, and I've gone
Mm-hmm.
having just seen their Instagram and being like, oh, I would never have guessed that was your Instagram tone. And but I get it because
Right.
I run into the same because it's fucking difficult to be yourself when you do feel like you're creating a brand, and it's much easier when it's like, I think,
Yeah, but I don't know. I think when you feel like you're curating a brand as well, right? Like, I think the thing that we get so stuck on is that we're constantly told we can only be communicating one message. It's like, pick a lane, work hard, get to the top of that lane. And, jack of all trades, master of none is some is a jack of all being a jack of all trades is somehow a bad thing. Um, and I don't believe that. I think that you can be a jack of all trades and work to try and be the best at all of those trades as well. You don't have to limit yourself. I don't believe in limits. I think it's stupid. I think it's pointless. I think the only way you know what you're truly capable of is if you go like push harder and further than you have ever gone before every single time. Do one thing every day that absolutely fucking blows your mind. Um, Reach out to someone that you don't know and want to work with who maybe has like a billion followers or whatever and just like make the jump, just jump. That's all it is. If you reach real high, like if you jump real high, like aim for the moon, you might fall on a cloud and then find a way to work yourself back up. You know what I mean?
yeah, on that, like, it's funny because I graduated from university last year, so
Mm-hmm.
myself, but like also all my mates, we're all in the same spot where it's like, oh, I secretly want to do this thing, but it's
Mm-hmm.
hard and scary. And how the fuck do you make it work in practice? And it's quite a
Yeah.
lot easier to not make the jump.
Yeah, I mean it is easy because that's comfort, right? And that's a shitty thing about comfort because when if you find that every single day you are 100% comfortable all the time, not I'm not talking just about like financially, but if you find that you are 100% comfortable every single day, then you are not growing, you are not changing, you are not learning anything, you are not bettering yourself in any way because you're staying the same. Growth, change, all of that stuff is uneasy and uncomfortable. It doesn't mean that it's painfully uncomfortable, but the fact of the matter is, if you're growing, there's going to be something that doesn't fit. There's going to be some relationship that all of a sudden you're having to reassess, or your energy changes when you're in a certain mix of people now, despite the fact that you've known them all of this time because you're growing, and that's okay.
Yeah, it's just an inherently painful process. I think that's the
Yeah.
thing, that's the other scary thing about it. Because on the one hand, you have the fear of failure thing, but on the other, like, yeah, your relationships change all the time. Your energy
Mm.
changes, your self view. And if ever, I mean, the most painful bit is the one where you go, oh, I kind of identified myself in terms of X, and now X no longer fits, but I haven't
Yeah.
worked out what comes next. So now I'm just mourning the loss of an identity, but I haven't quite found the thing that's next.
Yeah, but you see, this is like I also just like what is the rush to find the thing that's next? You know, I was so bad at this, right? I was always like, okay, this is the next thing. This is the next thing. This is the next thing. But like because you're always looking for the next thing and trying to go to the next destination, you actually you can't stop and appreciate where it is that you're at. So you never feel satisfied. You could be making the most money in the world. You could be on the most campaigns, on the most billboards, on the most images, have the most followers, and you still don't feel like it's enough because you've never stopped to actually take stock of what it is that you've managed to do for yourself, you know?
When you say like you were like, oh my god, this is the next thing. What were some of the things that ended up not being the thing?
um, for legal reasons, I cannot say one of them. But
Sounds exciting.
yeah, it was exciting. It was an opportunity to create something that was genuine and authentic and would have been really good for the landscape uh, that we were going into. Um, but to do something that is designed to spread good, you have to have good intentions. And the person that I was working with did not have good intentions for me or anyone that worked for it. Ooh, I think I said too much. But
Do you like
um,
do you like partnering up with people? Because like I'm always attracted to it, and then you get there and you're like, oh, this actually like it's two sided. Like there's good and there's bad.
yeah, so hmm, partnering up with people, I do it instinctively because I'm scared of doing things alone.
Hmm.
So I always try to have a partner in
What's
something.
the
And that, go on,
what's the fear? What's the fear associated with doing things alone?
just being lonely while doing it.
Oh, interesting.
And that's the
Lone
thing.
wolf.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because I love my work and I love creating, and my work is me. I genuinely feel that me existing is my work every day, and every day, me interacting with someone is, uh, an idea that's being put into a bank that I can then call upon later. Um,
Yeah. What time do you wake up?
Like 5:30,
It's so
5
fucked
or
up.
5:30? Yeah,
It's so
5:30
fucked up.
every day. I
It's so
I
fucked
want
up.
more hours. I just want more hours. Even and the thing is, it's not even that I want more hours to do loads of stuff, right? So I am very much trying to live the most conscious and mindful life that I can. Um, and in striving to do so, it's also massively bettered my connections with everyone that I know. It's bettered my relationships, it's bettered my communication. It's also bettered my ability to resolve situations without an actual resolution. You know what I mean? You don't always need closure. Um, but yeah, so I wake up at 5:30 so that I can do one thing that is just for me. So my routine in the morning is wake up in the morning, do one thing that is just for me, one thing that serves the household, pardon me, and then I can start work. And the reason I do that in that order is because if you start your day by doing something that benefits only you instantaneously, you're telling yourself that you are worth the time and the effort. And psychologically, it means that throughout the day, when you get stressed or when you feel like loads of people need stuff for you, you are able to check in with yourself and say, hold on, this is getting a bit much. I'm going to step out. I'm going to look at all this stuff, but I'm going to step out and give myself some time to process and think, listen to myself, and then step back into the situation. Um, so yeah, that's why I wake up at 5. So that's because sometimes it's actually the one thing for myself is like just watching an episode of like Real Housewives of Atlanta, you know, or
Yeah, I
Real
love it.
Housewives of Beverly Hills.
Yeah, and I love that. I love the doing something for the household because if you've ever lived with
Mhm.
flatmates, you know you can either go in being like on like subtly, and it is a subtle point, on board with them, and you're all kind of on the same side, or you can have the
Yeah,
slightly frustrated like who left the kitchen dirty thing, and it's
yeah,
just no fun existing in the latter. You'd much rather be in the state of mind where you're going, oh, we're kind of all on the same team, and you feel like you've contributed, etc., etc.
yeah, exactly.
Is is that something? Well, I mean, just to backtrack slightly, how did we meet, Darkwah?
How did we meet?
Yeah.
Wasn't I was managing Redemption. I was managing Redemption, which is a vegan restaurant in Notting Hill. Um, and I was living in Waltham, so I was cycling every day. Goddamn. But yeah, we met at Redemption, and you were um cute to work with.
That's so fucking charitable.
I mean,
God,
it also means absolutely nothing.
what does? Yeah, well, that's the thing. What does cute
Yeah,
mean? Slightly not very good.
I'm. I am gonna say that you had the best intentions, but no clue.
She says, I remember. So the restaurant basically, it was street
Hmm.
level, right? But then underneath, underground, there was the
Uh-huh.
storage, and there were these fruits and veg, and it'd be like, oh, Jamie, go grab a passion fruit, and I'd
Yeah.
stand at the top of the stairs on Google Images, googling passion fruit,
You
because
didn't
I
know
was
what a
too
passion fruit looked like?
no, and I was too embarrassed to ask, but I had to go
Why?
get the thing.
This is so that's actually a really good thing. You know, like I used to be really embarrassed about asking stuff all the time. I still kind of don't really like it. Um, but in there's so much more power in actually just being like, no, I don't know. And then having someone tell you because because in admitting that you don't know, you're demonstrating a knowledge of yourself, right? You're
Mm.
demonstrating a knowledge of the things that you do and don't know. You're also demonstrating your ability. No, you're demonstrating your want to learn, right? So I think there's a lot more power in saying I don't know than people think. I love that. I really love it. I actually feel very confident now, just being like, no, I don't know.
Yeah, and the irony is, the stupider the thing it is, so such that you perceive, the stupider thing it is that you don't know, the more
Yeah,
confident you are in saying I don't know, because you're
yeah,
like, well, I don't mind if I come across as slightly silly or if this is something that quote unquote should know. There's actually a real
hmm,
confidence to just admitting ignorance, but you're
yeah,
not trying to kind of mask the thing and say like, oh no, like, yeah, of course I've seen that movie. I mean, that's the classic one, right? It's like, have you heard this song? And then that very quickly becomes like, no. And now all of a sudden you're apologetic, whereas you should be like, no, never heard
yeah.
the song.
I'm just like, no, I haven't heard it. I live under a rock and I listen mainly to healing frequencies.
Do you?
Yes, I do actually. I actually have them on even when I'm like watching TV, just so that if the TV what I'm watching is like really much, at least I can like pull myself out and just be like, okay, just tune into the frequencies for a second, and then just check back in
Yeah, but you're also I'm gonna relax with a real
with a
crime.
doob. Oh, with a
No,
real crime documentary. Oh my god, I love that with a doob. I so gave myself away. Yeah, no, I do relax to crime documentaries.
shit.
I think most of us do though.
It's kind of perverse, right?
Is it?
like it's not because we've all decided that it's not, and like
Mm.
we're all into it. But it is slightly strange that we're all into it. Like if you
Yeah.
wind the clock back, and I'm thinking like I don't know if this actually really happened, but like Roman gladiator type stuff, we kind of
Hmm.
now go we're slightly snobbish about the Romans, and we think like, well, imagine turning up to see brutality, and then we like tune in on Netflix every night to see like
Yeah.
the most carefully curated.
Well, I mean, it's all about the curation, isn't it? That's the thing. It's all about the curation. It's just package something nicely, and you're good to go. If those serial killer documentaries were like shot really badly and had terrible color grading and didn't have reenactments, like I don't think any of us would be watching them.
I know I've been slightly slow to the game of realizing that the medium is the message and like everything you can almost get away with anything if it's presented nicely.
Oh
And
yeah, 100%.
but that's a nicer fact for you than it is for me. Because you are a total natural when it comes to aesthetics presentations. And you've seen my bedroom. It's not exactly an interior design piece of
Yet,
wizardry
yet,
yet. I'm gonna get
yet.
some help on it.
Mm-hmm.
But it's like, it's totally true that presentation matters, but on the other hand, you can get caught up in it. And I think
Yeah.
lots of people's excuse for not starting stuff is because it won't look quote unquote professional.
Yeah, I think, okay, so this is one thing that actually makes me so angry, and I keep hearing people use it as an excuse because we get told, turn everything into a positive for job interviews. And so it's this whole thing about like, oh, I'm such a perfectionist. I just don't
Yeah.
think I can start if, and I'm like, no, babe, like, I'm sorry. Like, you're never going to get to a level where it has developed to becoming closer to your idea of perfection if you don't just fucking start. Like just get up and do it. You know what I mean? Like it's really that simple.
But it's
Um
that, and it comes back to the leap, but it's so hard because the problem is, right, we all consume kind of the best content. We watch professional TV shows,
mhm.
professional movies. Very few of
Mhm.
us go geek out on homemade stuff. So
Yeah.
then we're comparing ourselves consistently to stuff that's just got a team of 25 producing it.
Yeah, but those team of 25 were also people who wanted to do stuff and saw other people doing it and thought that they would never get to that level, and those are the people that team of 25 are now the people that are changing the way that we are consuming things and looking at things.
That's the
I just
irony.
yeah, but yeah, I know, but I
Yeah.
just it frustrates me because it's just like there's no excuse. There's no excuse not to do anything. If you're alive, do something, do it. Find a way and do it. That's all. I completely understand economic factors. There's cultural factors that will stop you from being able to do things. So I don't want it to seem as though I'm being insensitive to anyone whose plight is different to mine because I know that I do benefit. I am benefiting from a great amount of privilege, of proximity to money, access to education, to even be able to see and understand these things on different levels. Um, but wherever you are in the world, whatever you want to do, every day just try and take one step towards it. Even if it's in a million step plan, just try and take one step towards it because sometimes the day that you try and take one step, that seems really hard to do. In the morning, that one step is hard to do, and by the evening, you've taken 10 steps.
It's so true. Like, it's a slightly strange example, but there's this guy on YouTube called Dave Ramsey, and he,
Mm-hmm.
in lots of ways, is a strange fit for me for someone to binge because he's a very Christian conservative American dude who helps people get out of debt. None of which is my area of interest particularly.
Well, I
But
mean, the debt part.
oh yeah, exactly. But anyway, he's kind of interesting and he's like and all the rest. And I watch him and he basically gets people out of debt by saying, you would think the first debt you pay off is the one with the biggest interest rate. But he's like,
Mm-hmm.
no, 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 pay off the smallest one because it's not really a maths problem, it's a behavior problem. And if you can actually just do something and get something under your belt, everything is possible. And it's why I like if you're struggling, just do a thing. I got this advice last week when I was having a bad time, which was
Mm-hmm.
like, just don't just do one thing and complete it, and that's you.
Yeah.
Because it's and like things accumulate, like in on the money thing, like accumulative interest. It
Mm-hmm.
kind of goes, it's linear, it's kind of like flat and flat, and it becomes exponential.
Yeah.
And I think progress is probably a bit like that too.
Yeah,
And the time you spend doing that one thing a day ends up adding up pretty significantly.
exactly. Exactly that. That's a word right there.
Is have you, because you do lots of different stuff, do you
hmm
find that makes you more or less productive?
I think I think if I only did one thing, I would go absolutely batshit and probably not do anything at all.
Really?
I need I feel I believe that I was like literally just born to create in whatever way. That's my thing. And so, creativity can come in any can come out in any form. Like I didn't do any like set design stuff before, and then I went to one shoot and I really liked what this florist had done, and then I made that little like floral thing in the background, Amazon, and getting some chicken wire. I didn't do hair, and then I was like, oh, I feel like I really want to express my point of view today, but also with hair. So I'm gonna learn to like style a wig or whatever. It's just yeah. I just need to create. So I think there's no way I could do just one thing. I don't think that there's any way that I could ever have just done one thing.
Yeah, it sounds like in some ways it would be like a limitation on creativity.
Yeah,
Because there's different ways to express. I guess all this stuff though comes to, I probably comes back to identity. Like if you're designing a wig to look a certain way, it's because you're expressing a certain, what's the word I'm looking for? Is a feeling? Is it identity? It's an expression of
yeah, yeah, yeah. I call it selling the fantasy. Um, and so I'm just like, I want to create a full fantasy before, bec- yeah, before my visual language or my creative language was just in my clothing, and then you would see it come out like in my drawing and then maybe in my singing and maybe in my dancing, but they weren't all linked. They were all compartmentalized and would come out at different times. And as I moved through many different jobs, um, and many different relationships and many different friendships, I realized that my vocabulary, so to speak, was expanding, and my artistic vocabulary was expanding, and so I could express myself artistically, creatively through many other means. So, writing, and then singing, and then dancing, and then having an idea for the video, but then shooting the video, and then editing the video, and then subtitling the video, and then color grading the video. I've just decided in wanting to be 100, because that's one thing that really informed what I do now is when I was younger I used to just lie about everything. Felt
oh yeah.
absolutely shit about my life. So I lied a lot.
And was the line
I
was the line with the result of feeling shit?
Yeah, or a an escape, How was
Mm.
your weekend? It was terrible, but like no one needs to know that. And then you like invent some fantastic story.
And at
Ugh.
the same time, you're presenting a version
Yeah.
of yourself that you think is more palatable.
Yeah, exactly. And I decided that I didn't want to do that anymore because it's really exhausting trying to keep up with your own lies. And so I was just like, I am gonna take a moment and think about the person that I am and think, do I like that person? And I didn't really know that person. I didn't really know what I even liked doing for like fun in my free time. And so I said, from now on, I'm going to be honest with myself every day and with everybody else. And I wrote it on a piece of paper, and I would read it every morning. I stuck it in front of my mirror, and now it's actually up here. I'm looking up at it right now. Affirmations. I will be honest with myself always, and all of these other things. And because I decided to be more honest with myself, it meant that I embraced all of myself. And in embracing all of myself, I embraced all of the possibilities for myself. And I've allowed myself to explore all of them that I've been able to thus far. And I will keep exploring them.
Yeah, there's a quote about most people live quiet lives of desperation, and
Mm-hmm.
I always read that as an inability or the lack of opportunity to just explore yourself basically and explore the different
Yeah.
avenues, because that's the core of desperation, right? Having
Mm-hmm.
something you're really a part of yourself that is unacknowledged that you can then finally acknowledge. That is going from desperation to liberation.
Yeah.
I wonder. I wonder if the fact you're in the creative world has made that in
Mm-hmm.
some ways easier. And if you were a banker, you'd have a more difficult time of it, because it's a world that's more accepting of people being nuanced. How does that sound?
Um.
I'm imagining some kind of repressed banker here just wanting to wig out.
Yeah. I mean, I guess being. Yeah. I don't know. I couldn't. I couldn't. I don't even think I can speak to it because I'm just like, I'm so in my head.
Universe. Yeah.
Yeah. Exactly. But I'm like, I don't even know. I couldn't imagine.
Can we
I mean, I don't know. Yeah, that's a hard one.
can we talk relationships?
Yes, let's talk relationships.
Because you have lots to say here. Or like
Ah!
because we've had conversations and you've been hitting me with pearls of wisdom.
Oh my God, have I? I was probably stoned.
That's
Okay.
that's almost certainly true, yeah. But
Ah!
but I want to hear anyway. Like, let's try this one. When romantic relationships change and they go
Uh-huh.
from this is the thing, like, to oh god, this isn't the one anymore for whatever reason. This I thought this was it and this was perfect. And the crucial detail is I had part of my identity caught up in that relationship.
Mm-hmm.
And then it transfers to this is no longer the thing. Do you ever feel a sense of identity loss?
No, I don't think I've ever lost any part of my identity because from an early age, I was made to understand through conversations with adults in my life and my father that relationships are very much like mergers and acquisitions in business, right? And
So romantic.
I know it's terrible, but it's also just as a creative, um, even though these were basically business and branding lessons that I got, as a creative, you also have to like understand what is you, right? And what do you bring? And so going into relationships, I knew what I brought. I mean, now I'm better at harnessing what it is that I can bring as well. But um, I always made sure that if my relationship was something that was happening, it was always a merger, and if it wasn't a merger, then it would be my brand acquiring the other brand. So they come and fit under my like umbrella, my group, my aesthetic. It tends to happen that way. Um, Now I'm a lot less like that. I I can see relationships as mergers and acquisitions, and that allows me to make good business decisions,
Hmm.
or just know strategic like business friendships. Know how to work with them. But when it comes to like relationships, friendships, it's really just now about do they make me happy? Do I make them happy? Do I want to make them happy? Do they want to make me happy? And that's it.
Yeah, and the
So
identity loss, I guess, would happen is if you were acquired and your
yes,
identity
exactly. And
defined.
this is why I say I've never felt a sense of identity loss because it's never been oh um, that's so and so's partner. And I mean, similarly, none of my partners have ever been referred to as Darkwah's partner. We've always been like together. It's always like Darkwah and this, Darkwah and, or X and Darkwah. You know what I mean? So
Yeah, I find
yeah,
I find like the analogy of mergers and acquisitions is actually great, because in the merger and acquisition, there kind of needs to the companies need to sort of fit in together in a way that makes sense.
yeah,
And just because you're two perfectly well-meaning and functioning or semi-functioning companies,
mm-hmm,
that doesn't guarantee your lives or your businesses fit together in a way that makes any sense.
exactly, exactly.
Where do you stand on the whole? Because this is a conversation we've sort of had in brief on the
Mm-hmm.
whole. I think I was talking to my grandma last week, and we were talking about dating in the 50s. And dating in the
Mm-hmm.
50s was almost the inverse of dating today. So dating today is like a lot of you meet, and there's a lot of are we, aren't we, sort of
Mm-hmm.
situationship stuff, and then right at the end there's a big decision. Is that a
Mm-hmm.
healthy way of operating?
You're asking someone who is painfully single. So I don't. The answer to that question is I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't like that though. I know I don't like situationships and all of that stuff, but I think that's born of a need to seek out stability because I felt
Mm.
very unstable and unsupported a lot when I was younger. And tend to feel like that sometimes too. These feelings do research.
Mm.
Sometimes they come back. Um, but yeah, I resurface even. I I don't know. I find relationships hard. They're tricky, and they're tricky because we have so much access to so many things and so many people, always. And I don't know whether anyone wants to admit it or not, but I'm going to admit it. We also look at people and think we would look so good together. Oh, this would work well because it works on paper. This whole thing on paper.
Yeah.
Um, I don't know. It's not for me. I just want to know you. I just want to know that we have good vibes. I feel that everything is becoming a lot less personal, and it's hard because sometimes two people who are really good friends that look like they would go really well together don't work, but they end up together and end up staying together and not working, and it seeps out in so many different ways. Um,
Yeah, and the paradox is there's so many different places a relationship might not work.
yeah.
It might be that you hang out, but there's not a chemistry, or right
Hmm.
people, wrong time, or right
Yeah.
people, right time, wrong attachment styles. There's just so
Hmm.
many. So on the one hand, you have that, and on the other, places, countries that have either arranged marriages, and I'm excluding the cases of people who are too young having to get married, but
Hmm.
adult arranged marriages slash small towns where you have like a potential sample size of 5 people who you could marry
Hmm.
report higher satisfaction in their relationships than people with lots of choice. So it's bizarre to me that on the one hand, there's so many places these things don't work, and yet when you have no options, it seems to work just fine. I've never been able to square that circle.
Interesting. I
Yeah,
love that square that circle.
I read
Um.
I read this other thing about Tinder and Bumble and Hinge and
Uh huh.
Grindr and all of these apps actually meaning that people were having less sex than before. Do you want to hear it? It's kind of a wild argument.
Go ahead.
So the idea is like when you survey people and say like where would you ideally meet your future partner,
Hmm.
the answer is always like in the library. The library is a big one. In the lift. But the point is like these quaint, like spontaneous, cute little meetings. And
Oh
then
yeah,
the
meet
follow up
cute.
is super cute, right? And then the follow up is how would you feel if someone approached you in the library lift park? And the answer is always like, oh, totally freaked out. Like, why are they approaching me? And the argument is number one, no one ever meets on Tinder, Hinge, Bumble, Grinder as a percentage of
Hmm.
the user base.
Oh
You
my
just think
god,
that
I'm
they do.
so sorry. Hold on, 2 seconds.
No, you're good. You're good.
Okay. Okay, good. That's okay. Fine. My sister was FaceTiming me, and I thought that my laptop was gonna freeze. But yes, with Bumble,
No, I
continue.
love it. It's the quirks of doing a live show. Um, so yeah, the first idea is as a percentage of the user base, nobody on
Mhm.
these apps actually meets up, and
Mhm.
anyone who does meet up on them is in a very small fraction of the total base. But what they've
Mhm.
done significantly and culturally is shifted the zeitgeist on what counts as a fair place to meet. And all the places
Mhm.
you used to meet a potential romantic partner in the past, the library, the shops, the church, the bar, and now
Mhm.
slightly people have a resistance, which I understand because now dating is something that you do online. And that was just the wild dating app actually leading to less
That
romance, less
sucks.
sex.
I don't like that. I'm the kind of person that would approach you in a lift and be like, "Hey, you look really nice," and like strike up some conversation, and maybe we end up going for Oh look! Oh my god! I do not know what it's this gray weather. I'm telling you. You know, I'm that kind of person, so it's sad that people would feel freaked out by. But I guess people are freaked out by a lot. Anything that's direct, people are freaked out by, which I find so fascinating because being direct is just it's just how we. I feel like it's just easier. It makes life easier. There's no room for ambiguity. There's no room for confusion. You're just like, this is what it is, you know?
I know, and but there's
Mm.
some fun in the uncertainty. There's some fun and there's some anxiety. And the more fun, the more anxiety, right? That's the relationship.
No, I strongly disagree. Strongly disagree. I am not. I'm not the girl for the ambiguity. You know, I
No,
mean,
I hear it. But the interesting thing
yeah.
is people's attachment styles and you've hinted at this just earlier, really
Mhm.
are the result of their experiences. Like people whose experiences of love is slightly towards abandonment
Mhm.
tends to be slightly more anxious in attachment style, and people who tend to be resistant towards love, it's like they've been
Mhm.
hurt. And that's just one of the multiple variables that make the whole thing such a shit show. Because
Yeah.
if you find the right person at the right time, well, one of you's anxious and the other's avoidant, and the whole thing blows up. Is that a massively pessimistic view on romance?
Um, I think so. Embrace all of the pitfalls about is of romance. It's then actually easier to have romance because you're like, okay, well, this is real. This is what happens. You know, it's like when you watch porn and like no one farts, and you know that
Yeah.
like it happens sometimes. I mean, it doesn't happen with me. I haven't done that. But what I mean, what I, it's natural and normal, right? But we so much content, so much stuff on TV and in the media in general that makes us feel as though this is what it should be like. It should be easy. It should be a walk in the park. No, it's gonna be uncomfortable. It's gonna be weird. You're gonna have weird conversations. You're not always gonna match up like in terms of your moods and feelings and the way in which you speak about stuff. But at the same time, like it's such a beautiful feeling knowing that maybe like this is not the kind of person that you feel that you are. Like you're not programmed that way, but like you can actually feel your mind expanding because you are making the conscious effort to learn about and love the person that you are with. Because that's what it is.
and and that's meatier somehow than the
Yeah.
Hollywood easy, effortless, unspoken connection that we've effectively had forced down our throats since the age of like being prepubescent. I mean, the premise of like children's books, like baby books, if you go into them, is often like, and then the turnip met the other turnip and they lived happily ever after.
Yeah, you know, and it's like no, happily ever after was actually struggling to get a mortgage, and then finally getting it, but then realizing as they got the mortgage that the relationship really didn't work that way. So they kind of broke up for a little bit, but then they got back together and they realized it's not that they didn't work; it's just they didn't need to live with each other in order to still show that they love each other. And this is the thing. The idea of love has been commodified and sold to us, and packaged very specifically. But like we need to like rip up that packaging and throw it away. Maybe recycle it. And we need to we need to just be. It needs to be a more 360 thing. It needs to be 3D. It's very two dimensional. Our ideas are very two dimensional on some things, and it's so weird because we're such complex beings. Um, and yet we subscribe to very like ideas of what life is. And even when you as a person, like I as a person, I'm not a cookie cutter person in any way, shape, or form. Like I'm not I don't think that I am easily replicated. I don't think anyone is. We're all very unique. But you know what I mean? Like so me not being a cookie cutter version of like humanity, why do I then still want to subscribe to cookie cutter versions of humanity? when I'm already not in there. I have to like make my own reality.
And with love, you've nailed it because it's much harder to commodify shit while you struggle to get the mortgage, and then you do get it to the higher interest rate than you wanted, and then you kind of break up, but actually the breakup is only because of one of you having unresolved trauma. That you can't sell that and package that in a
Yeah,
way
but
that
you know what? If you did, I would so fast. I would be first person in the store. I'm like, yep, sign me up. I will take all 24 seasons of this same show.
yeah, and like in every other area of life, we're so happy to accept that struggle makes things beautiful. Every
Yeah.
movie has the same plot, effectively.
Hmm.
Problem, solution, problem, struggle, solution, or resolution.
Yeah.
That's every book, every story, and like culturally, you go back thousands of years, and those are the stories. And yet,
Hmm.
with romance, we're like, no, 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 not that. Just straight, easy,
Yeah. Yeah.
clean.
Give me the Notebook. I'm good. That's basically what everyone's saying. I haven't actually seen the Notebook, so I don't know what it's like. Is it sad?
It's slightly sadder than that.
Oh, okay, cool. Well then, no, not the Notebook. The Princess Diaries. I don't know. Uh,
No, but it's actually, I was just racking my brains and thinking, what are like the easiest romance stories in terms of it goes so well? And even those don't exist because for it to be interesting, you have to have the struggle in the middle. Where they fail is the happily ever after.
yeah.
That's where they fail. Because, you know,
Hmm.
Notting Hill, um, I reference it because it's the one that I've seen this week. is is it finishes on the park bench in an expensive square with the kids running around,
Yeah.
and girl is pregnant, and guy is reading the newspaper, and everyone's happy. And it cuts there without any indication of what's to come. And what's to come is everything. It's joy, it's sad, it's bored, it's excited, it's frustrated, it's same wavelength, it's different wavelength.
Hmm. It's A
And
and E visits to it's A and E visits because your kid fell over and hurt themselves. You know, it's vaccinations and jabs and flus and all that stuff.
yeah, have you read any Alain de Botton? It, it's a pretentious thing to say because he sounds a bit French. I promise he's not that pretentious. But he
Okay.
wrote these two books called Essays in Love and The Course of Love. And they're
Hmm.
basically half essay, half plot. But they're
Hmm.
just a massive they're just a massive rail on like romanticism as we've been
Hmm.
sold it. And he basically says that's sugary shite, which is fun, and it's like the infatuation's amazing. But that's not love. Love is the A&E visits,
Yeah.
and and the problem is like everyone's just a little bit broken, and I don't mean broken pejoratively as in like unfixable, but everyone has their psychological quirks. And
Hmm.
the interesting thing about a relationship in some ways is yours rubbing up against somebody else's,
Yeah.
because what the fuck's gonna happen? Like who knows? But
Mm.
if you don't have that uncertainty, it's probably not worthwhile. But that's the version we're sold.
Yeah. Yeah. Hmm. An interesting point. Um. Yeah. No. I don't think I have anything actually to add to that. I think that was quite well put.
Well, I think actually this is a perfect time to finish up the very pilot. Because in my head we were going to do 45 minutes.
Yeah.
I'm worried about laptop batteries and all the other quirks of doing
Oh
something
my
very
God.
quick.
Yeah. I mean, I'm fully plugged in at my station. But yeah.
Well, Darkwah, thank you so much for coming on Daydreaming. Everyone, thank you for watching. There'll be like another 1,000 of these. This
Yeah.
is a thing now.
Fab. I love it. I love new things. Thank you for having me.
So much love.
All right. Have it.
See
Have
you
a good
later.
night.
You too.
Bye bye.